So what constitutes your real competitive advantage? How do you know it is? So you meet in a room with a bunch of people, you're sitting and having breakfast together, you decide to come up with something, you're like, wow, this would be a real advantage for us. I think this would really work. How do you know it will? Well, you'll never know, because all of leadership, all of management is a hypothesis, right? So we believe that if our employees do X, X, and X, and if we invest here, here, and here, that back here sales are gonna go up, that net profit's gonna go up, return on investment's gonna go up. We don't know it will, it's a hypothesis. So I need to be able to test the hypothesis. So you come up with something that you think is a real competitive advantage. How do we figure it out? Well, a technique was designed, really became popular in the late 1980s, probably goes back to Werner Felt, but in the late 1980s, by mid 1990s was the predominant approach for figuring out whether something you think is a competitive advantage is a competitive advantage. And it's some version of resource-based analysis. So we've certainly modified it to be very practical. If you go online and you type in resource-based analysis, you get hundreds of thousands of hits. Some people call it VRIST, V-R-I-S-T. Some call it VRIN, V-R-I-N. Some call it VRIO, V-R-I-O. They all have different versions, but it's all the exact same thing. For something to be a real competitive advantage, it has to be relatively rare compared to the competitive set. That is, it has to be relatively unique. And our rule of thumb, of course, is if one other competitor is doing it just as good as you, still pretty unique. If it is unique, then the question becomes, how long can you hold on to this cool thing that you just came up with, right? How long can you have it for yourself? Because that's how you really make money. You really make money by having something that's rare that you get to hold on by yourself. If a competitor comes in very quickly, takes it away from you, it becomes an orthodox expectation, right? So how do I hold on to this cool thing for a period of time? And you'll hear people periodically, say, well, Chuck, that's just anti-innovative, right? We're all about innovation here, and you're being anti-innovative. I'm like, no, I'm not anti-innovative. I'm anti-not making money. So if for me to make money, we have to hold on to it for a period of time. And there's a bunch of techniques and tools that we can do to determine how long we think we're going to hold on to something. Then we look at what the substitutes are. What are the potential substitutes for this cool thing? If there's a really good substitute out there for this thing, then you're not going to gain real competitive advantage. You're not going to be able to make true economic rents. And finally, the question becomes, how do you get value? You've got something that's rare, durable, and non-substitutable. How are you going to get value out of it? Well, we've studied value up one side, back down the other. You can either charge more, my personal favorite. It could cost you less, right? So that you could charge the same amount, but because you have such and such going on here, you get a better basis point run. Or you get customers to go past competitors because you have this cool thing. So I want to figure out whether something you've come up with is a competitive advantage. We're gonna push it through this analysis tool. And the reason this analysis tool works so well is that these things, rare, durable, non-substitutable, and valuable, are relatively orthogonal to each other. That is, they come from different quadrants. When you look at all the research studies, you see how this kind of aligns along the way. We want to push it through that approach and determine whether the group believes it passes. Of course, you're going to do some data analytics. Of course, we're going to test it to make sure we're not kidding ourselves. But it's some science on top of the art. There's still mostly art. It's still mostly art. But it gives you a chance to determine whether something is a potential competitive advantage or a real competitive advantage.